the Sports Renegades podcast on SportstownChicago.com.
Hey, hey, holy mackerel, no doubt about it, the Cubs are on their way. The Cubs are gonna hit today, they're gonna pitch today, they're gonna field today. Come what may, the Cubs are gonna win today. Hey, hey, holy mackerel, no doubt about it, the Cubs are on their way. They got the hustle, they got the muscle, the Chicago Cubs are on their way.
1 ball, 2 strikes, the pitch. Big Cubs win the division! Cubs win the division! Cubs win the division! Fitzgerald is out on strike. Look at that scene on the field. And underneath all that humanity is Mitch Williams.
2 outs, 9th inning. And the 1-1. Sammy drives one. Get out the tape measure. Long gone. I don't believe it. Sammy Sosa ties the game 8-8. Well, Pat, we talked about the fact that Sosa hit the ball right on the screws last time up. This time, a no-doubter against Urbina, who, for whatever reason, after throwing a bullet of a fastball by him, he threw him a slider, and Sammy hit it out of sight. What a game tonight. Sosa hit one to Waveland Avenue.
The Chicago Cubs are on their way.
For the first time in a century, back-to-back postseasons for the Cubs.
Welcome back to the Sports Renegades here on SportstownChicago.com. I'm Ryan Stuprich.
And I'm Ryan Risky, and hopefully we'll be having some more big Cub moments like that this season, clinching the division, having some big, dramatic home runs in the postseason.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. And of course, currently right now, it's the end of the third inning. The Cubs are home at Sloan Park tonight. I think. Are they in Sloan Park tonight, or are they at a neutral location? I'm pretty sure they're at their home park, but they are down 4-1. Jared Weaver is
wheeling and dealing.
Yeah, he's wheeling and dealing against the Cubs right now, and Jokic not so much. But that's all right. He can still he'll either start in the minors or in the bullpen somewhere.
Yeah, it looks like his bullpen slot was just kind of given to someone else after this outing.
Yeah, possibly.
It could be Drake Britton, Felix Dubront, or Tsuyoshi Wada or Travis Wood that gets the nod as the left-handed specialist in the bullpen. One guy who I haven't seen really at all in like the box scores for any of these games is Justin Grimm.
Right, I haven't seen him either, and I know he's there. I know
he's there.
I saw him at the Cubs convention, and he was pretty good last year. He was one of their most consistent bullpen pitchers.
Yeah, except the funny thing is he was probably overshadowed by Hector Rondon, Pedro Strop, and Neil Ramirez.
Yeah, he was, but he
had a really good year.
He's a pretty good long relief guy.
Him and Neil Ramirez they got those two guys in the Matt Garza trade, lockdown bullpen guys, and they weren't even like the big parts of that deal.
Right. So that's that. But let's sort of focus our attention to maybe some of the surprise teams, or some of the teams that we think will have surprisingly good years. Now, these are sort of teams that don't have high expectations this year, but teams that could make noise. Sort of like a Kansas City Royals, maybe not to that extent, going all the way to the World Series, but a team that could make the postseason that a lot of people don't think. So we'll start with you, Risky. If you can think of any team that's going to make some noise this year that a lot of people don't have making a lot of noise.
I'm going to go with the Atlanta Braves.
Okay. I like that.
I like what John Hart has done this offseason. He's rebuilt the farm system into a top 5 farm system, and he really, under the radar, did that. And he didn't just go and trade away all their guys. I mean, they still have Freddie Freeman. They've got a young, solid catcher in Christian Bettencourt. They still have Chris Johnson at third base. They still have a Gold Glove Andrelton Simmons at short. And, I mean, they've got a really good pitching staff. And Alex Wood. Mike Minor's probably going to miss the start of the season. They did let Irvin Santana leave as a free agent. I'm actually trying to remember. Oh, they let Medlin and Beachy both leave. Who else is on their starting pitching staff besides Minor and...
on Atlanta?
Yeah, on Atlanta, besides Minor and Alex Wood.
Julio Tehran.
That's the guy I was thinking of. Yeah, he's an ace.
Yeah.
They got Julio Tehran, he's an ace. And then their bullpen, I mean, they've got Craig Kimbrell, who's probably the best closer in the game.
Yeah, either him or, what's his name on, Aroldis Chapman, either him or Chapman.
I think I'd take Kimbrell, because if you look, Chapman always has a ERA in the high 2s, low 3s. Kimbrell's always in the mid 1s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you there.
I mean, they may have traded away guys like Justin Upton, and, I mean, just because they went and traded away a bunch of guys doesn't mean that they didn't keep, I mean, they still have a ton of young talent. I mean, Freddie Freeman is probably a franchise third baseman. Andrelton Simmons, if he can get some more hits, I mean, he makes tremendous amount of contact. If he can get some more hits, he's going to be a really good shortstop. And, I mean, they also traded Jason Hayward, except they got Shelby Miller in return. That's another starter. Tremendous upside. I mean, they've still got good young players. And don't forget, they got Arodys Vizcaíno from the Cubs, who could be a solid bullpen guy. I mean, they still have... Oh, and they signed Alberto Callejo, who's very versatile and durable. He'll probably be the starting second baseman. So, I mean, they still got a lot of young players who are really good. They only traded away Upton and Hayward because they were on expiring contracts and they weren't going to go and hand out mega deals to them, and they improved the farm systems a lot.
Right. A team I'm going to go with, and it doesn't necessarily help the Cubs or the other teams in the Central Division. The Milwaukee Brewers, I think are still a pretty good team. I know they traded away Marco Estrada. He's with Toronto now.
Yeah, they got Adam Lind though, so they got a need first base.
They got their first baseman. They can stop the nonsense of having two first basemen play every other day.
Not just the nonsense of having
Mark Reynolds and who was the other
Lyle Overbay.
Yeah,
it's not that. It was nonsense that they were doing that. It was nonsense with the players that they were using.
Right. I mean, Mark Reynolds can he has the possibility of hitting 30 home runs a year, but he didn't play enough.
Well, then he hits like 205 and
he
strikes out all the time.
And Lyle Overbay, is on the verge of retirement.
The problem is they didn't make a trade at the trade deadline for a first baseman. Right. They just won with those guys when they needed a big upgrade.
And, Milwaukee still has a pretty good staff. Mike Fiers did really good last year. He's going to be in their rotation this year for sure. I think
he's been inconsistent.
Fourth or fifth man. So they have him. I'm not too high on Aramis Ramirez, but he's still, a durable third baseman. He's a pretty good hitter.
He's
still,
better than a lot of teams' third basemen.
Right. Of course, Scooter Gennett is turning into a pretty good, solid second baseman.
His only problem is he can't hit left-handed pitching.
Right, and they do have an all-star outfield pretty much with Chris Davis, Carlos Gomez, and Ryan Braun. And I know, I'm not a huge fan of Ryan Braun, partly for what he did, but I've never really liked him. But he's still Ryan Braun. He's still, a scary hitter to be facing. Because he has the capability of doing a lot of damage, and you got an all-star catcher in Jonathan Lucroy. So I think, for sure, if there was a team in the National League that I would be that could have a surprising year, I think it would be Milwaukee again. Although I still think St. Louis could, or the Pirates probably run away with the division, or the Cubs. The Cubs and Milwaukee are sort of neck and neck right now, in my opinion. I think the Cubs, have more offense ability, and I think. That they have more established, guys in their starting rotation, but it's definitely going to be a really tight race in the Central.
It will be. I think if Milwaukee is anything, if they're going to be like a good team, it's going to be like last year. They'll start out hot and then they'll really fade at the end of the season.
Yeah,
they just don't have enough. I don't think they have enough quite yet.
Right, I'm just
that far.
Yeah, but
I don't think they have their pitching isn't deep enough.
That would be my surprising thing. Either of them or possibly the Colorado Rockies. Maybe they'll finally get it together this year with Tulo and Cargo. If they can have healthy seasons, then they're going to be, a much improved team if they can have full healthy seasons.
The only issue I have with
pitching.
The only issue I have with the Rockies, they have tremendous offense, is that Kyle Kendrick is their opening day starter.
Yeah, they have no pitching.
If Kyle Kendrick is your opening day starter, that is not good at all, because that guy was a borderline number 5 with the Phillies.
Right.
And that guy was awful, like a 4.90 ERA. I mean, oh, man. I'm sure their fans were thrilled when he left as a free agent. Now, and the Rockies, interestingly, they cut Jahalis Chachin, where 2 years ago he was like a really good number 2 pitcher. He was the ace of that staff.
Right.
And right now they still have a good offense. I mean, they still have Nolan Arenado at third base, Willeen Rosario catching, Corey Dickerson, Charlie Blackmon, and Carlos Gonzalez in the outfield. Justin Morneau had a fantastic year. Says their pitching staff I don't think it's enough, especially to get by like the Dodgers and the Giants in that same division, and the new look Padres.
And the Padres, yep.
The new look Padres.
Yeah, of course, with a completely new outfield, but it's definitely
a completely new team
with what is that? Their outfield now:
Will Myers, Justin Upton,
and I can't think of their other outfield.
No, they got him this offseason.
Yeah, I know the whole outfield is new. I can't place a finger on it.
They traded Matt Kemp.
Okay, yeah.
Matt Kemp. I knew they traded for him. Yeah, and then they got Will Middlebrooks at third, Derek Norris at catcher.
Yeah,
and then they
Big Game James.
Yeah, they signed James Shields, and then their bullpen last year was good. I mean, they still got Andrew Kashner, Tyson Ross, and they signed Shields. Who was the other? Ian Kennedy.
Yeah, Ian Kennedy, who was on their team at one point, right?
Yeah, he was really good last year. Ian Kennedy was really good last year.
All right, let's sort of switch to the American League before we go to break. Is there any surprising teams in the American League that you can think of that'll have surprisingly good years this year? I'm
the thing is with the American League that's really difficult is there's teams that you know are pretenders and teams you know that are good. I don't think there's really any teams that are under the radar like that. I mean, the Rangers would be the only one, except now their injury bug has been hitting them again. I mean, Yu Darvish is already out for the season. That American League East, you just don't even know what to expect because you don't know about the health of the Yankees. You don't know if the Blue Jays will be able to do what or if they'll be able to finally advance to the postseason with all the big names they got, because the last time they went out and signed a bunch of guys and traded for a bunch of guys, they weren't very good. Yeah. And, I mean, the Red Sox, you don't really know. I mean, it's just there's a lot of teams you just don't know about.
Yeah,
there's too much X factors that go into the American League teams. I mean, the Mariners are a team that should do really well this year.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think, the Mariners aren't necessarily a surprise, but they're a team that a lot of people think are going to be good this year. I agree.
They've got a tremendous pitching staff.
Right.
And they finally got that right-handed bat they needed in Nelson Cruz. And the thing that annoys me is that people are like, oh, well, he's not going to hit 40 home runs again in that stadium. Well, the guy has 40 home run potential. He's going to hit 35 or 40 or 30. Yeah. I mean, a stadium is not going, unless you're playing at San Diego where the fences are a long ways from home plate and you got the ocean winds howling in. Whereas Seattle's just kind of a bigger stadium. I mean, I don't care. He still plays 81 road games.
Right. I still think, I agree with you with the Texans Rangers, but I still think, Kansas City, it can still have a pretty good year this year. I know they lost a lot. Yeah. But I
think the issue
they didn't lose anything detrimental, and they still have their pieces that were really good in the postseason. And everything.
Right, they did add. I mean, Kendrys Morales and Alex Rios. The only issue with the Royals is that they were real under the radar last year. No one expected that. Where people are going to be expecting that this year, and they might have more pressure on them. And I don't think that they're a team that can score enough runs under pressure.
Right. So those are our picks for some of the surprising teams that we think could have pretty good seasons this year. You can tweet us yours at Ryan Stuprich on Twitter.
At rrisky16.
All right, and we're going to take a break, and we will come back. So stick around. You're listening to the Sports Renegades here on SportsTownChicago.com. The Sports Renegades podcast on SportsTownChicago.com.